Good evening, Ronak, and welcome to Design Dialogues hosted by Rethinking the Future in collaboration with Fublis. This is your host, Bhavya, and today we have the pleasure of speaking with Ronak Patel, the second generation architect of family from Vipul Patel Architects, Ahmedabad. Just to give a brief introduction about your studio, Vipul Patel Architects, founded in 1994 by architect Vipul Patel, is a multidisciplinary design firm specializing in architecture, interior design, landscape design, and product design. Known for its seamless blend of aesthetic and functionality, VPA has successfully completed a diverse range of projects that reflects innovation, creativity, and teamwork. With second generation of architects or family, together they continue to push the boundaries of design, delivering exceptional spaces that inspire and innovate to build environments. Thank you for joining us today, Ronak.
Yeah. Thank you, Bhavya.
So before starting the questions, I would like to inform you that this interview will be published on the website of Fublis. So sign up on the Fublis website and you'll get the access to watch this interview. So shall we proceed with the questions?
Yeah.
So first question for the day. With over 25 years in the industry, how has VPA's design philosophy of form follows function evolved with the influence of new architectural trends and technologies?
At VPA, form follows function. I think it is a too much discussed topic, and it is forever, of course. But see, in recent few years, when we look at the way technology has changed and also the living lifestyle of people, there is a rapid change which is seen in everyday living, everyday changes that are happening every year or within the span of few years. So this constant change is something that needs to be adapted in terms of design, and these changes are also to be adopted in such a way that they remain impactful, and also it adds to the user experience. So that is something that we are taking forward, and I think which has become important factors currently.
So, talking about a project of yours, the Z Square features elements like Central Avenue and pedestrian bridge that invite a sense of accidental curiosity. Could you share insights into how you crafted spaces that encourage exploration and interaction within such a large structure?
So, see, Z Square, the building is it is more than 50,000 square meters of built up area. So, it is designed in such a way that the building mass or the density of the building is divided. Here we have even considered that how people are going to walk across the building or how they are going to experience the building. And we wanted it to be very much impactful again. So as when one enters the building, it is almost like a 30-meter wide urban plaza or a urban road, and then suddenly you see the hanging bridge and the hanging cafe on the top which connects the two buildings. So that itself becomes like an attraction, or a magnetic space which attracts the user outside from the main road. And it becomes an experience again, as I mentioned. Once you see the pedestrian bridge or the terrace garden on the top, one feels to go and experience the space. So that's how one just flows inside the building, and that's how they can experience the building, and it adds to the surprise element as well.
So, what were the biggest challenges in designing a building of this scale and that still maintains an intimate and inviting atmosphere for the visitors?
I think, see, the way the building is designed, it is the break points or the pause points which are provided in the building, in terms of the landscape courtyards, in terms of the viewing decks that we have for the central plaza, in terms of the central bridge which connects the building. So there are so many multiple viewpoints, so many experiences, so that helps to break down that mass of the building, and it takes away that hugeness or that massive concrete structure that it actually is. And in fact, it comes out and pops out this landscape spaces and other user experience oriented spaces that are divided all around in the building.
So, VPA has undertaken a diverse range of projects from individual residences to large commercial complexes. So, how do you adapt your core values to such varied scale and purposes of different projects?
See, when we talk about core values, it is mainly of the design process and the approach that goes within the project. So when you're approaching a small scale residence or be it a very huge scale retail, there are a set of principles, a set of approach that you've set to all of your projects, and then the way you start detailing it, basically. So that's something which goes. So that's the process which is followed in all the projects, and that's how we follow the same language for all of them.
So, talking about another project of yours, how did the vernacular aesthetic influence the layout and openness of the mansion, particularly in creating different connections to the surrounding landscapes in the Evert House?
So, when we talk about the Evert House, it is more of a transitional architecture, I would say, because of course, me myself, I'm more inclined towards modern and contemporary. But now here, the clients they told us that they wanted bit of that vernacular, feel that they already had in their house, and they wanted to continue that. And even the new house, they wanted it to be more cozy. They wanted it to have that life which they had in the old house. So then it came to the elements, let's say the entrance chalk of that house, or the central courtyard of that house, and even using the old furnitures, the old artifacts coming in from the old house. So all these things, I think, together, they came up to form a architectural style which was little bit unique and different than what we regularly practice. So that's what it is in the Everett House.
So, as you just mentioned, reusing 90% of the wood from the ancestral furniture is a very unique and sustainable choice. What inspired this approach and how did it shape the home's character and connection to the family history?
So when we first visited their home, the first meeting was in their existing house. And when we first visited there, we were actually impressed with the furnitures that they had. It was with carvings. It was very nice piece of furniture, but of course, it was in little bit of a condition was not that good, and it was not very well maintained. And then we discussed with them. So they told us that they have been living in that house for about good 50 years or something like that. So the collectibles that they had were their fathers and grandfathers. It was almost like three generations in that home, and then the history and the collectibles that they had in that house. So we actually went around the house, we saw all the furniture pieces that they had, and we listed them down. We had photograph of all of them, and we had a list of furnitures. And once the new layout was done, once the new house was done, we started putting up those things around in the house, that how now we can fit in and blend in with the new home, everything that they had earlier. And it actually worked very well. It started blending in. They actually became space fillers and highlighters somewhere, some break points or pause points, something to look at when you are in the courtyard or when even you are in the formal sitting space, something in their mother's room. So everything just went around in the house. And that's how, a lot of furnitures and a lot of things were reused in the new house.
How do you approach maintaining a cohesive vision in projects that span architecture, landscape, interiors, and product designing, ensuring each discipline enhances the other?
Um, See, I think when it's mostly when everything goes hand in hand, I would say. So once you have a blank piece of plot or a piece of land, and then when everything, all the brainstorming starts together, then of course you'll have a better end product or a better result, where from the first line you are thinking of orientations, directions, your build and the green spaces, your interior layouts. So it's all cohesive, it's all working well with each other. That's the thought when we are designing all three. That how my sitting sofas are going to face, or how my chairs are going to look at the window, how am my vision going to be from outside to inside. So it has to be very much blended with each other, and that's what makes it complete, I would say.
So, talking about another unique project of yours, the villa's design for Kalrav is inspired by the form of a bird in flight. Could you elaborate on how this conceptual vision influenced their decisions on materials and the structure layout of the house?
So this villa, when we started designing, The client, he was very fond of birds and he was very passionate of birds, and we started putting the house in between the trees. There were a lot of existing trees on the site, and we just made a form or a plan which was just fitting right between the trees. And then we started the elevation part or the visual looks, aesthetics of the house. And we thought, okay, the plan was somehow supporting to this flying form bird form which came out. So we thought, why not we have a elevation or a visual aesthetic from the front, which looks like a form of flying bird. And then once that was done, then we went to the material part. And the roofs on the upper floor, especially, they were almost floating. So what we did was, there's a lot of metal which is used. Almost it is like a metal frame structure that is done. The walls are like infills, which are used in terms of partitions. And for the upper floors where we see the floating roofs, we have actually used the steel deck slab, and then we cladded it with the false ceiling, the wooden ceiling. So that's how material, I think, it played a part for that form.
So, how did the proximity to the Thal Lake and its bird sanctuary influence your choices in landscape design for this project, especially in crafting habitats that appeal to the local and the migratory bird species?
So, see, in this side, the context was very much important. And when we looked in the surrounding area, it was very near to Thal Lake, of course. So we thought, why not we have elements where we can actually attract birds in our site as well? So we just need some bird-friendly trees, water. We had bird feeders on the site, and all those elements which can actually attract birds naturally. So and that's how we started developing the site, the layout, and it worked well actually. So a lot of birds which were coming in the surrounding vicinity or even the lake, they actually started coming into the farm in that space, and it added a lot of life to the overall project.
Reflecting on the values and principles instilled by Mr. Vipul Patel, what are some of the foundational beliefs or key lessons from his leadership that continue to guide your work today? And additionally, as VPA architects look to the future, what new directions or aspirations do you see shaping the firm's evolution and design philosophy?
So, see, something that he has been doing and which is carried forward, I think I would say simplicity. So you know how, of course, when the task comes, there are a lot of layers to it, and a lot of things are to be addressed, to be achieved, etc. But how simple can we make it? That is one thing that we always look at. And he has always been inclined to use of local materials, so making it more sustainable, not in terms of green certification, but basic logic. How, where are we building, the climate, wind directions, local materials, something which is right next to you. So these things, they were always there. This notion was always there when we started working with it. And also, how functional can we build? It has to be very much on top in terms of utility, very much functional, and and also respecting nature, where the building orientation, directions, sun, wind directions, everything, etc., is all mentioned and covered in your design, which is something mandatory that needs to be done in all the projects. And looking to the future development and taking it further, I would say, of course, the sustainable development and materials, the right approach to the projects, and not giving up until you've got it to the T or until to the final product. These are some things that would be important to achieve as we deliver our projects. So when I talk about my inspirations, this is something to add to our design philosophy now and to take it forward. Nature has always been our first inspiration for many, and of course also for us. The beauty of it is that it is everywhere. It is everywhere around us, and every element in nature, it is fine-tuned and perfected, throughout years and throughout ages. So constantly observing nature and learning from them, and then applying, sitting on your desk and then applying it into your work. I think that brings the best out of you, and that's something that brings in great value to your designs and personal experience as well. And architecture, I think it is measured in context of community that it serves, and it is judged by the spaces it creates. So it should be source of inspiration, comfort, and environment for all the users, and that the experience that they are going to have in that space. Also, a social behavior of building user is influenced and even determined by physical environment that is designed by architect. So once all the base work and analysis are achieved, one should allow inner self and creative imagination to be the base while designing. The design values should be based on simple forms without considerable ornaments that will free people from everyday clutter, and thus it will contribute to restfulness. And I believe that there is an opportunity for design excellence in all the projects, irrespective of their shape, sizes, or the scale. And the green design elements, they are not added to our building solutions, but they are integrated in the design to advance and support the architectural experience and the composition, and to create a healthy and sustainable environment. Right? So those are something which are inspirations and directions that we look forward to.
So that was the last question for the day, Ronak. Thank you so much for giving your precious time. It was a pleasure to have you here, and don't forget to sign up on the Fublis website. Thank you so much.
Thank you.